So SD-WAN, why on earth is this important to businesses? I'm sure that as organizations have been trying to modernize their network, or if you're some kind of like IT director or some kind of director of network or something like that, you've probably already heard of the term SD-WAN, because SD-WAN actually isn't really new as far as the industry goes. SD-WAN has been around for probably 5 to 10 years at this point. However, SD-WAN is accelerating right now in the network industry, just overall network management, network operations industry, by 35% year over year. So SD-WAN is accelerating at, again, 35% compound annual growth rate. So this is actually the fastest growing area of all of technology right now. It's faster than cybersecurity, faster than cloud managed services. This is one of the fastest growing areas of all of IT right now, SD-WAN. And what we're going to do is we're going to break down, why is this growing so quickly? Why is this growing so fast? Well, it's very simple. So what we have to do is, for us to explain why SD-WAN is so important, we actually have to go back in time. So what we need to do is we need to go back about 20 years ago. So about 20 years ago, traditional WAN architecture was centered around something we like to call the data center. Traditional WAN network would actually bring branch office locations. So here's our little buildings here on this branch office. Here's our little buildings here on this branch office. And here's our little buildings here on this branch office. All of these branch office locations would connect over the WAN, or the wide area network, to the data center. Now, why is this important? Because at the data center is where most of the company applications were hosted. They were hosted typically in an on-premise data center inside the company's headquarters. So all of the applications and important programs that the business would use to actually conduct business that the branch sites would need, they would be hosted right here inside the data center in HQ. So all the branch sites needed to do is they just needed to connect over a hardwired line called MPLS to the central data center where all the applications are hosted. And that has been the traditional wide area network architecture that a lot of enterprise businesses have been using for 2+ decades. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with this, especially when you have almost like a direct connect, hardwired connection through MPLS to the applications in the data center. It worked out great. I mean, for the longest time, this worked just fine. However, there has been something that has been disrupting every industry for the last 15 years or so, and it's called cloud. So if you take something like this and you bring in the cloud, well, you actually bring disruption along with it. What do I mean by that? So in the cloud now, there are applications like Microsoft 365. There are applications like Salesforce, applications like Workday, applications like, gosh, what else? Workday, Salesforce, ADP. There are all kinds of different applications that are now no longer hosted in the central data center that branch sites are needing to use for their day-to-day work. But the problem with this traditional architecture is the branch sites are still connected to the central data center. So branch sites are still connecting to the central DC. So here's our little branch site, here's our little branch site, and here is our little branch site, okay? They are still connecting to the DC, and then the DC is pushing out the connections to the internet, to the public internet. This is called backhauling traffic, where you actually have to take traffic from the branch location, send it to the data center, and then send it out to the internet to connect with the applications that the businesses need to use that are sitting in the cloud. As you can imagine, this has actually been really a slow process, or this has been a really difficult process in backhauling traffic because it's adding additional hops from the branch location to the central data center and then out to the cloud. This has been something that businesses have been struggling with performance now for the better part of the last 5+ years. So if we take this type of architecture, we know that the cloud isn't going anywhere. We know that the cloud is not going anywhere. We know that the cloud is here to stay. We know that more and more applications are going to be hosted in the cloud. We know that applications that are being built now, they're being built as cloud native applications, that they're going to be hosted in the cloud first. They're not actually migrating to the cloud. They're actually being built in the cloud. So what do? Well, these branch site locations need to be able to connect with applications that are actually hosted over the internet. That, my friends, is where SD-WAN comes into play. So let's draw the same data center. So here's data center. Here are the branch locations that we talked about earlier. These are little buildings, branch locations, and branch locations. Now, what is SD-WAN? SD-WAN allows for an application-aware appliance to sit at the branch location. And this particular application-aware appliance doesn't just traverse data via, IP address or something like that. These little devices, these SD-WAN appliances, are actually application-aware. So that means if they could recognize if they're interacting directly with something in Microsoft 365 or Salesforce. And so what we're doing is, although a lot of branch site locations are still connected to a main data center via MPLS, we can now allow the branch sites to connect to the cloud directly using software-defined networking or SD-WAN. And that's it. So the difference between, it's really a tale of three architectures. The first architecture is the traditional WAN, where everything is connecting to the data center. The second architecture is where organizations were backhauling traffic to the data center and then out to the cloud. That right there that has reduced performance. It had its pluses and minuses. It allowed for central control, but it also was detrimental as far as performance goes. And then here with SD-WAN, we still get to keep centralized control, but now the branch sites can actually connect to the applications in the cloud that they need to work on a day-to-day basis. So why is this important to you? Well, this is important because this requires a whole lot of configuration. This requires a whole lot of orchestration. And this requires a whole lot of support. So the real issue with this is a lot of organizations know that they can move off of MPLS to SD-WAN. And they know that when they move off of MPLS to SD-WAN, they're saving about 40% per month on their internet bills by moving from one type of architecture to another. So a lot of organizations know that they're going to save money and they're going to improve performance, but what they don't have is the right kind of partner to help them move from here to here. And this is where Vology comes in. Vology comes in right here to step in to help with the configuration, the orchestration, and the ongoing support of your SD-WAN architecture so that you can maintain the highest levels of application quality experience, reduce application jitter, increase performance, and decrease cost. That's the kind of thing that we do in our managed SD-WAN offering for customers all over the country, and we're excited to do the same for you. So if you want to learn more about our managed SD-WAN offering, please feel free to visit our website anytime, www.vology.com. Thanks so much, and we'll see you again soon.